So yesterday I started a 100-day meditation challenge, and Kyle Cease is a YouTube creator and transformational speaker, and he's the one that inspired me to do this challenge. And he inspired people watching his videos that if they wanted to make more money and experience more abundance financially, they should think about meditating for 100 days straight. So take whatever amount is in your bank account or whatever your budget is, and by the end of the 100 days, he almost guarantees that you'll have more money in your bank account or feel more in line with the path that will help you make more money. So that's one of the reasons why I am starting this challenge, to see if it does impact me financially. But I really think the main reason is also because of Kyle Cease, because he uses it so much to improve his frequency or learn to be in a higher vibration. And I really align with that ideology of changing your consciousness or your state of being. And because you're able to manage and align with higher energies as in peace, contentment, not higher energies as in like excitement, but higher vibrational, more positive energies, that this will help improve your life in all areas. So just by simply maneuvering or shifting your energies, it can have a bigger impact on your life than learning tips and techniques, which is my background. So my background is more self-improvement. It's if I had trouble in a certain area, let's say social skills or dating, I would read more technical books on how to improve those areas. But I always seem to have trouble still in those areas. I'd have progress and then experience a lot of pain and suffering in these areas because I can never align with the context of a situation. So I'd always get stuck in my head and I can never really trust myself. I always had to go to outside sources, whether that's friends or a book or a YouTube channel, to come up with an answer. And a lot of times those answers weren't best because those answers weren't specific to my situation. So I have trouble aligning to the energy of a situation, to the context, and trusting my gut to make the best decision. So what I'm trying to do is really shift my energy and see how that changes how I see particular areas of my life, how I view content creation. So for a while I've been questioning whether video is my best form of communication or writing. I don't see myself podcasting, but I'm gonna be honest with myself. But again, a part of the whole meditation is to get more aligned with what my bigger purpose is, and to see what comes up when I meditate, what authentically is calling to me. So Kyle Cease believes we all have an inherent purpose or destiny, and we have so many patterns that constrict us from finding that purpose or destiny or our authentic highest self. And I'm really doing this, I guess, ultimately to find what my higher self is. And I understand the inherently part, because if you think about it, if you think about your personality, you are typically drawn to particular things. Like I love basketball, I love anything self-improvement wise. These are things I'm naturally drawn into, but your state of being can attract these things to you. So if you think you're not good enough, you're gonna look for self-improvement. If you really want to be famous, you may look to do music, but that may not be your true calling. So once you align to your highest self, what calls to you or what you align with may be different. So I have some notes that I took from my first day of meditation, which was yesterday. And so there's two ways that I see meditation and see aligning with different energies and frequencies and realizing your highest self. So one way is to let go of all the things that are pulling you from peace, because a lot of spiritual teachers, they even think you can feel peaceful in the most insane conditions. So a lot of prisoners of war, they would accept their situation to the highest degree. They would accept the abuse, the torture, and they felt at peace. So they let go of wanting to be somewhere else, and they accepted, as horrible as this sounds, they accepted their fate and their destiny, and they surrendered to it. And they surrendered to all of the fear and the anxiety, and they felt more at peace. So there's one way to reach that highest self, is to think peace, think of that energy, and then just try and center yourself within that, or try and get there. And typically what you'll see, the only way to feel peaceful, from what I experienced too, you continually have to just accept what is. If you really ask yourself and try to reverse engineer peace, so how do I feel peaceful, right? How do I always feel peaceful? Let's just say you have that as a question, and you ask yourself, okay, how am I going to get to peace? You simply just have to accept what is. You accept how you're feeling, and you almost treat your feelings and your circumstances as no big deal. It is what it is. Everything's going to be okay. And this is how you can align with peace. But then there's another way of reaching peace, and it's really just being aware of what is. And this is the way that I would say I have more trouble with, because I'm so used to trying to change my state. So the first way I described is more of, you can say, more of a forceful shift. And there's another way, by just sitting with yourself or sitting with your feelings, which is something I'm not good with, that you'll just learn to accept them. So I think I have a bad habit of like, oh, I always need to feel peaceful, and I start judging myself when I don't. And I'm trying to learn how to accept everything without judgment, accept the positive and the negative without judgment, accept that I overthink a lot, and just by accepting these things and feeling them, I will reach that peaceful state. So both these ways, aligning with peace or kind of accepting your way into it, both these ways seem very similar, but the intent is different. So just from so many books I've read, there are a lot of spiritual teachers that will just almost force themselves to let go. They feel that tension in their body, they go breathe, relax, and just always try and get to that peaceful state. And then there's another group that just kind of lets everything happen as is. I just finished a book called Radical Acceptance, and this book really, I think, has helped me the most where I'm at in my journey. Because again, I come from more of the change, how I'm thinking and feeling to get a specific result, instead of just being okay with whatever comes up, okay with my life and where I'm at right now. Because even making these videos, I'm trying to make these videos to get out of corporate America. So I'm always trying to go towards something to do, and I'm trying to use meditation not so much as to do, but as to be. So that's my focus in meditation. And there's times where I do feel like I am like, okay, I'm feeling anxiety within my meditation. I'm like, okay, breathe, relax, I gotta feel peaceful. And I kind of now have been letting that go. And what I tell myself now is like, it's okay to feel anxiety. It's okay. I tell myself it's okay so often because I have such a resistance towards my feelings. So the way I recommend using meditation is to kind of validate how you're feeling without judgment. It's more of like an objective awareness, like this is how I'm feeling, it's okay. This is how I'm feeling, it is what it is. And to kind of just let whatever happens be there. But then you may be thinking this as well, as kind of like I have this question too, even while I meditate. It's like, okay, I'm feeling this way, but I also don't want to feel this way anymore. I know so many people who know how they're feeling. Like I have friends and family like, yeah, I'm anxious all the time. So they're aware they're anxious, but they don't know how to deal with that anxiety. And what I learned from Radical Acceptance is compassion. By telling yourself it's okay and being more gentle and soft, you kind of like hug these emotions. And now you're aware of them, which is what I struggle with. I never really wanted to be aware of them or admit that I was feeling fear because I thought fear was a weak emotion. My favorite idols, Kobe and Eminem, they always came off as if they never really felt fear. So I always wanted to be like them. So if I felt fear, I'd kind of like push it down and just keep plowing forward. And I would judge myself for feeling fear. So my first step was just asking myself how I feel and then objectively naming it. So that would be like, oh, I'm feeling fear. How am I feeling? I'm feeling scared. And then it's okay to feel scared. That's the 3 steps to radical acceptance. That's the 3 steps to really just allow life to happen, to just be, instead of always feeling like you have to do. So that I recommend that if you're first getting into meditation, because the first way of meditating is it's good to learn how to center yourself, right? Learning how to feel calm and content within it is good in particular situations. When emotions are high, you need to perform. Like at work, I've been a barista for 9 years. And when we're super busy like we were today, I have to kind of calm down and focus. I can get overwhelmed, but I have to calm down, focus, and get centered. I can't just let that anxiety run me. I do have to kind of like control and suppress it a bit. So they both have their context of use. I think in sports is another great example where you may be feeling anxiety, but you have to kind of like recenter yourself and focus at the objective at hand. But I think all in all, if you want to experience more peace in life, you just have to become more accepting of what is as much as possible. And I think this will lead to more peace and align to your highest self. Because these negative emotions are really contracting you and changing your perspective of other people, of how you see yourself, of how you see your life. And I think the more accepting and gentle you become, the more energy and emotional bandwidth you free up to then let in higher frequencies. Because if we're really contracted in our heads overthinking, which I do a lot, then you're not going to be open to feeling everything. You're not going to be open to certain signs and synchronicities that can lead you in a different path. So that was my first day. In essence, was more trying to distinguish what type of meditation I'm going to be doing and what's going to be best for me where I'm at. And the first thing I noticed when the first couple of minutes, I was like wanting to make notes during my meditation time. So I was like trying to make notes about what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, so I can make content. My focus in the first, I would say 5-10 minutes is like, how am I going to make a video out of this? So instead of just being with whatever I was feeling, I kind of got lost in what's going to be best for a video. How is this going to make good content? What am I going to talk about? So I noticed I had to kind of just like be with that angst and anxiety and just tell myself, breathe, relax, tell myself it's okay to feel anxiety about content, but right now is your time to more just feel everything, to allow things to come up and not force them or change them, but also not to get swept away by them. I also noticed physically that I kind of, again, just let my body do what it wanted to do, and my head would just slouch, kind of like this. My head would just, and my body would slouch, and I've been told, for good posture, you have to just sit up straight, but I kind of just, like I said, I'm trying to do is just let my body kind of guide me, let my highest self kind of guide me. Whatever my body wants to do, maybe that's what my body needs, is to just slouch a little bit, to relax the shoulders and not to be so up straight, because I'm on my feet a lot, pretty much all day. So maybe this was the best thing for my body, and I kind of just let that happen. Again, I think the trouble most people have with meditation is they're trying to use it to get to a end goal, to try and get somewhere, to use meditation to achieve a goal. But if you try and use everything to get somewhere else, you're never going to be content where you're at. I think that's the whole purpose of meditation. That's the whole purpose of life, is how content can you be right now? it doesn't mean you're not ever going to take action, but you're going to take action from a different place. If you're feeling really grateful for what you have and just happy in the moment, your actions are going to be aligned to joy. They're not going to be motivated by fear. If you're so badly want to use meditation to then go make money, you're just going to force things, and I think maybe you will make money. And I think there's a lot of people who are hustle, 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 go, 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 but we also see those successful millionaires, those business owners, are not always the happiest. If anything, they're probably the most miserable, because they were so incomplete within themselves that they had to search for something and find the tips and tactics to go find peace outside of themselves, to go find the missing piece of the puzzle, to go be a business owner because they identify with owning a business as superiority, or being a business owner is cool and that's going to give them the love and validation. They're so identified with doing instead of just being. And if you try and use meditation to get somewhere, I think you're missing the whole point. And I was using meditation at one point to do that, because I try to, again, just try and change my energy to always feel good. And I thought if I always felt good, I'm going to attract something or manifest it. And I believe the best way to manifest things, though, now is to just let them go and not care as much. You can still do things, but without so much of an outcome. And if you're okay with what is, if you're okay if you do achieve your goal or not, I think you're always going to be the happier person in the short term and in the long term. And I notice my way of doing meditation, letting things be, brought up a little bit of anxiety, because I'm so used to just trying to breathe and relax and get to a peaceful state instead of just letting things come up and being okay with whatever come up and sitting in, almost grounding myself in whatever I was feeling and just kind of watching how it moved in my body. Every now and then I would breathe and relax because I felt like that's what I needed and that's what I felt like would have felt good. And intuitively, that's what I felt like the next step was. And also that's what I think meditation can be a great tool for, is to reconnect with all the information you're gathering internally and externally to make an intuitive decision. I think so many of us, because of fear and not wanting to mess up, and we've been told that our feelings are wrong, that we don't trust ourselves. And the more we can trust ourselves, the more we are going to make decisions that's best for our highest self. And I noticed at certain points in my meditation, more so today than yesterday, but I'm going to get into today's meditation in a second. But what I noticed in the first one is the more okay you can be with that fearful outcome, the less it scares you, even if that outcome is probably going to happen. So I know that I'm really bad with online dating and text communication. I get in my head way too much, and I will overthink things and send a text that often doesn't get a reply back. And when someone doesn't reply for a while, I get real anxious, and I almost try and like rationalize why I'm not getting a text back. I'll be like, oh, online dating is dumb, it's not personal enough. If I'm in person, if I'm in face-to-face or in person, that person would be more into me, and then they would reply. And I notice when I am just okay with the fact that I'm not a good texter or online person, and that my bad texting led to this outcome, and I'm willing to accept that, the more I'm willing to accept that, the more peace I felt. And now when I am texting or anything, I seem to not care as much. I'm okay if someone replies or not. And because I am less outcome dependent, I seem to be getting better reactions, because what I'm saying is landing better. I'm more intuitive of what's the best thing to say, what's going to be relatable, but what's also going to be authentic. And I think you can use meditation to really just sink into your fears and realize you're going to be okay whether that fearful thing that you don't want to happen happens. So let's say I had a thing come up at work, and I felt like I had this I kind of got in a little bit of trouble, and I had this fear that, oh my God, I don't want the boss to find out because then I'm going to lose my job. And the more I just let that fear come up and just sit with it, the more I was okay with if I lose my job. And the more I thought to myself, because I was being compassionate, I was like, okay, if I lose my job, it's okay. I'll figure it out, right? So it's part of that compassion of that fear. It's acknowledging that fear, like, oh, I'm feeling scared because I feel like I may lose my job. And it's telling myself it's okay that you're feeling scared because you might lose your job. And it's okay if you lose your job, you'll find another one. So it's okay is almost like supportive as well, and it kind of is influencing my confidence, and hopefully it influences yours as well, because it's okay is one, compassionate, but also it's okay, you will make it, it's okay, you'll be fine. It's also positive, propelling, it's encouraging, it's that support that a parent would give their little kid if they were not doing well in school. It's like, oh, okay, you failed this time, you didn't pass this test, or you're not understanding the homework. It's okay, we will figure it out. And that energy I felt, and that was probably the biggest thing I experienced from day one of meditation. Day two, I kind of used meditation as a way to perhaps answer questions. And I have a question in mind. So the question I had in mind for today's meditation, I had multiple, but it was, what's my purpose? You know, what is my job on this planet? What is the impact that I'm destined to have? And I notice if I want to rush to an answer, I will think of something and then just want to like go act on it instead of just letting things come to me. Because I think we so bad want to find the answer to these questions that we rush into situations that we shouldn't rush into. If we really want an intimate relationship, we may just rush into a relationship with the person that is giving us a little bit of attention or likes us, but that person may not be a good fit. But we almost force a relationship. We highlight certain characteristics of them that we think that are good about them, but we also deny the ones that aren't the best about them, just so we can hurry up and get into that relationship. Some of the best relationships that I've seen are the ones that just kind of happen naturally. There was even no intent of getting into a relationship. They either met at work or they met through friends and they were just hanging out, and things kind of just happened naturally. So when I was sitting there today and I asked myself this question, I would ask myself this question, just kind of let whatever came up. And one thing I realized, and I didn't realize this, but I was told this by Kyle Cease, was be okay with not having an answer and just keep letting information gather. Just be open. Allow yourself to not have an answer so you can stay open. Because as soon as you try and come up with an answer, you block yourself off to other potential answers. So it's just being as open as possible and receptive. And again, I didn't have an answer. I had another question of what kind of content do I want to make? Do I want to do video? Do I want to do writing? So initially, for the last year and a half, I was writing. And then something kind of called me to do video because I felt like writing was very tense. Or maybe I was building up tension around writing because I try and perfect everything I do. That's part of the reason why I'm making more of a fluid video, is to get into the vibe and energy I want, and the vibe and energy that I seem to connect with when I'm talking with people, or they seem to connect with me better, as if I'm more fluid and just talking. And I also wanted to get into video because it's more interactive, it's more physical. Right now this video is at 25 minutes. And you know, that 25 minutes went by so fast because I feel like I'm being more engaged with talking. Also while I'm talking, I'm trying to feel where my energy is at and kind of push that into the camera or into you a bit. And I feel like I had a harder time doing that with writing. I felt soulless when I was writing, or my writing felt soulless. I didn't know how to communicate my story or put more emotion into writing as I can when I'm talking. So that's one question I ask myself, is what kind of content do I want to make? Because I do feel like content is something that I'm excited by genuinely, and it's something that's changed my life. Reading, specifically reading, which is, I'm going to get back to this. So specifically reading has changed my life, and that seems to be the way I like to consume content. I'd rather read it than watch a video. But what's interesting, if I ask myself what kind of content do I want to make, it seems to be video, even though I like to consume reading. So there's some people who make videos that I really like, but they seem to be few and far between compared to books. Because I feel like books, there's so much, I can sit with a book and read a line and then reread it over and over again, and I remember things that are written, and numbers and words that are written I seem to remember better than when anyone's talking to me. When someone's teaching me something and they're just talking, I don't hear everything because I'm too busy trying to process how I'm feeling when they're talking with me, and sometimes I get in my own head. But when I'm reading it, it forces me to engage with the book. And even if the book's not physical, because I like to read on my phone, it forces me to read. It forces me to pay attention to every word. And I notice one sentence of one paragraph and has such a big impact. That's how I fell in love with reading. So I started asking myself, well, if I like reading so much, why not write? And I think there's a lot of good things I've learned about writing, but right now this is what feels right to me, is making videos. But then now the question is, you have TikTok, you have YouTube Shorts, you have medium length content, which is like 8 to 10 minutes, and then you have longer, which is anything longer than the 10 minutes, perhaps 20 to an hour. There's a lot of podcasts coming out that are just video, or they're being uploaded on Spotify, but they are on a YouTube channel, being recorded on a YouTube channel, so you can see it and then listen to it. Like, I don't like audio content at all. If I'm driving, and I'm listening to a Kindle book or an Audible, I get so frustrated because I notice I stop paying attention, and I have to like rewind it 15 seconds, and then I stop paying attention again, and I'm just like, I can't do audiobooks. I just don't pay attention. I don't do podcasts, but I can do a YouTube podcast. I can watch a YouTube podcast better than I can listen to one on Spotify. So I asked myself, what type of content do I want to make? And right now this seems to be what's calling to me energetically, and that may change. I may want to get more technical. I may want to have like a catchy intro in the future, followed by specific points. And some of my earlier videos were like that, but I felt really tense. And I kind of wanted to relieve some of that tension and see how I appeared on camera afterwards. I wanted to come off more natural. I wanted to come off as if you're talking to a person. And I feel like even now I'm getting to more of a flow. And I feel like that's the whole point. And I know longer form content typically isn't doing well on most platforms, and it seems to be that short form is doing a lot better. So Twitter, like little tweets or a Twitter thread, which is basically a condensed blog post, is doing better than a full-on blog post. And a blog post is doing better than a book. And a YouTube short is helping channels grow faster than YouTube videos. So these are things that, again, I probably overthink. And the more I shift or move my energy, I'm going to align with what I think may be the best form of content for me. And yeah, so that's something I ask, is what type of content do I want to make? And again, I don't really have an answer. This video is going to be longer. Obviously, I'm combining 2 days of meditation. And yeah, we'll see. I'll look at the analytics too. There's so many factors I'm going to take into account. And I have to ask myself, I know 8 to 10 minutes is probably ideal with your video organized and sectioned off with edits. And I have to ask myself, do I want to do what's best for the algorithm, or do I want to do whatever I want to do and screw the algorithm? So that's something I have to sit with as well. So again, you can use meditation as a way to get clarity. You ask a question, let go of any preconceived notion. I noticed I had like tension of I needed to find the answer now, and I try to envision myself writing, how would that feel, making videos, how would that feel, I kind of just let that go, and I kind of just let be the confusion and the anxiety about what type of content should I make. And now at some point the question during the meditation became, what type of content do I want to make? And the vibe behind the question changed. So if you were asking the question like, what do I do? What do I do? You're going to jump into things, or look at the energy behind what do I do compared to what do I do? Two different vibes, and you can use meditation as a way to change your vibe and allowing more information. Or when you change your vibe, you're going to see information differently. Things are going to call to you. There's things we just let naturally happen. There's some foods that I gravitate towards. There's some books I gravitate towards. I can never do fiction. I always have trouble with fiction books. But when it comes to nonfiction, I seem to be okay with that. I can watch documentaries and true crime shows, and shows that seem more real. Meaning there's like a basic plot line and story, and it's based on a character's evolution, but I can't do sci-fi stuff. I get I just stop paying attention. I feel disconnected to that stuff. So there seems to be an inherent draw towards some things and an inherent draw away from others. So you can really use meditation as a way to get clarity on what's calling you. That's it for days 1 and 2. And hopefully you like this video. I would love feedback. I don't have that many views and subscribers to even possibly get feedback, but if you can give me feedback on how this video felt for you and what you learned, what you liked and didn't like, that'd be great. Tomorrow will be day 3, and I will be uploading. And I guess the whole goal too, I'm going to upload a video every day, and I'm trying to use that as kind of like, I think a habit is more important to build than focusing on the end goal. So when I try to get a 6-pack, I focus on what are the steps I needed to take, and I did those 6-7 days a week, instead of thinking, oh, I need to lose a pound a week, or I need to get to this weight by 5-6 months. I ate in a calorie deficit, I exercised every day, and sure enough, I got to my goal. So I feel like the more I upload, the more videos I post, the closer I'm going to get to my goal, which is obviously to have more of a following. You kind of need to have that outcome. Otherwise, what's the point? If you're making videos just to make videos, I guess that's great. If you're making content to make content, that's great. But I do have an outcome of making money through content creation. So, but I realize I need to get better. And the only way to get better at anything is consistency. And the more you build a habit, the better you're going to get at it. When I was a basketball player, the only way I got better is by shooting a basketball every day. But if I wanted to be as good as this person by this day, I noticed you can't control that. The only thing you can control is the effort or the work. So meditating every day, I want to become a habit, and I want to see what happens when I meditate every day, but also I'm going to use what I'm learning in meditation as content. And I also think I'm going to sprinkle in some other content ideas that's not based around the meditation, and what I experienced directly from the meditation, what I experienced roaming throughout my day. Sometimes I'll have an idea about a video, or I'm kind of understanding a topic or something that I used to struggle with, and I'm getting clarity on it. I'll make notes on my phone, so I have a bunch of video ideas, and I may sprinkle those in every now and then. But also, I'm using meditation to listen to my body and see when I need rest and when I don't, and when it's time to push myself, when it's time to take a break and not force things. I noticed when I was really loving going to the gym and playing basketball, you didn't have to force me to go. I naturally wanted to go. So you just have to look at your intentions behind something, and where is it coming from? Am I trying to do this to force it, to control, or do I really like playing basketball because I like playing basketball? Do I really like making videos because I like making videos? Do I like singing because I genuinely like singing, or am I trying to be a singer to become famous? So again, force versus power, where are you at? And till next time, peace.